I've always wondered, by the way, for everybody watching, our guest tonight is John Gist.
Oh, you got it.
So, I was never sure, is it Gist or
Man,
Gist?
you got it right, man. First thing, Gist. Hard G, I think that's called.
I think it was JJ Kozan, who I've always called JJ Coxan.
Yeah.
He used your name, and so I took notes and went, oh, it's Hard G.
Yeah, like good or God, an ist, like make a list or a fist. Yeah, so.
Like the Gist list.
There you go. Instead of the Geist list or the Gist, it doesn't make sense, right?
Right. It's got to be the Gist list.
Indeed.
So, dude, I was talking to Julie, and, JJ is kind of the most visible face of the scene, but you're kind of like the Godfather. You're the, sorry.
He's been around a lot longer than me in the scene. JJ, way longer than me in the scene.
Dude, I saw your list one year of all the songs, and I think all of us were in awe. It's before I was even on Dune Charts. I saw this list. I thought I listened to music. You had like 500, songs that you had listened to and ranked.
Ranking songs. Well, I ranked albums. I do that every year. Usually top 40 albums each year, but then I have a bunch of ties, so I cheat. Because I want more bands in there. Oh, yeah. But I have to set a limit. Yeah. It's sad. So, yeah, I mean, I put out playlists, not as much anymore, but yeah, I would do playlists for all kinds of stuff. And it's cool that people like to share and enjoy checking my shit out, because my shit is everyone's shit. I'm just compartmentalizing it.
It is.
In a certain way.
Yeah, but a lot of us are watching what you're paying attention to or listening on the podcast is rock dead.
Right. I pose that question because I've heard enough people say it or insinuate it, really. And it gets me fired up, quite frankly.
Well, I've been hearing that since like 1975 when I started listening to music. Yeah, The Who, they came out with the song, Rock is Dead.
Yeah, well, it's gotten a lot closer now than ever in America in particular. So I could go on a whole thing about it, and
let's do it. That's okay.
But it's controversial. My thoughts, not overly controversial, but it's a different mindset. It's an observation I have comes from me being in marketing and advertising and knowing how to follow money. From my previous jobs, I know budgets and it doesn't take a lot to kind of just look at things. And so you got to follow the money, you got to follow the labels and the big management companies. In this last 15 years, it's been pretty strange in America for rock and roll. And it's, you follow the big labels, all that, they're not putting any money into it. It's all going to rap and hip hop.
No.
Right around when P. Diddy started having his parties. I'm joking.
And they're losing money hand over fist. They're absolutely losing money.
Well, the labels aren't losing money anymore. Labels make.
I would love to have this argument. I think that, and then let's do it. I think Sergeant Thunderhoof as a prime example of a world-class, easily one of the top 5 performing bands on the planet.
I guess we'll find out.
Well, we will. Rock. But yeah, I'm gonna say that they're making more money, even though they're destitute, than they ever would have made if they had signed with MCA, Capitol, CBS Records, or Sony, because so many bands were bankrupted by the label system, by the management, that a band today, they're only going to make $1,000 a year, right? But that's better than being $50,000 in debt.
Well, that's up to them to do the budget and correctly understand the contract. I mean, what do you want? Their bands, it's up to them to, if they know how are you ever going to win a game if you're not paying attention to the score? And so when you start spending money on producers, all these things are part of that initial thing on the bigger labels. But what bigger labels do is they give you access to everyone, a lot more people in the world, like most at times, like literally most people in the world, because things are fed off these three main companies and their styles branched out all over. But rock and roll I looked over every one of the rosters, the big three. There's only three labels like left that are like the big, powerful ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's Sony, Universal.
I don't know. I forgot what it was. I don't have my notes down, but yeah, Universal and Sony are massive. I mean, Atlantic is not a record label. It's a subsidiary.
Right.
At this point.
Right. Which is trippy considering I think Virgin used to be a subsidiary of Atlantic, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. All of them are now
it's craziness. But
like all of them now, Scott, are just subsidiaries underneath a parent company. And that parent company has a board of directors. And so that board of directors, or whoever's in charge at the very top, is who's in control of every single thing down below. So we're down to 3 board of directors. And then you probably tie in and owners or whatever. You tie it in with the management companies that manage certain artists. And so they're in on the money. They're a big part of what makes them money. They make other people because they're connections to these things and that. And so it's been put together pretty good to go in a different direction. In a different direction. Unless we think there's not been that good of rock and roll for the last 15 years, so we deserve it. What's the answer,
I think music's better right now than it's ever been.
But that's because you and me hustle.
I grew up. What's
because
that?
you and me hustle. We listen to music.
We do.
Not just what's fed to us.
It's always been that way, though, and I know that I'm a contrarian on this, but I remember growing up outside Toledo, Ohio, small Midwest town, and we had 2 radio stations, WMHE, WIOT, and for like this whole 6-month period, it was album-oriented rock where the DJs chose what they wanted. Then Clear Channel came in, and the other conglomerates, and next thing you know, instead of hearing Lady by Styx or A Man of Miracles by Styx, all we heard was Grand Illusion, and then eventually Mr. Roboto. The whole world changed. Where I'm going from, I grew up on Ted Nugent's Stranglehold. Nothing, no political, but that album influenced more bands, no artists, and Ted, if he just would have followed, but no, he had to do Wang Dang Sweet Boom Tang and
song. I saw him live like 5-6 years ago across the street at the Sahara. It was crazy. First time ever. And I think Ted Nugent should have stuck with having a singer.
Oh God, yes.
Like Stranglehold, it's an old timer. It really is wow of a song.
My point, though, is music has been homogenized since 1977, if not a little bit before.
What does that mean, homogenized?
It's the same playlist that you're going to hear on every radio station.
Well, statistically, everything changed with the Clear Channel, but that was not until Clinton era that happened. And so they deregulated all that. They were able to go and control. There's only 3 or 4 programmers for Clear Channel and some of the other channels now in the country. So it used to be like literally they go by regions or they have like an East and West. So I know people that have done things, we'll say, in the music industry a little bit deeper. I worked on a radio campaign once, not that long ago, and I got the ins and outs of how it all works. It's really not rocket science but I got the validation from him, and I even helped him on the thing. So you hire people too. If you're not in a big label, because big labels have automatic access to those programmers for Clear Channel and whatever the other big one was that dominates FM. And so if you're not going into their inbox and getting like, hey, the new one from Sony, then you hire these managers that will go out and do a campaign for you where they talk to the radio stations, the programmers, and everything else, and deliver your music to them and start getting spots, one, twice a day, and it just kind of builds. They'll do it like at late night, and they got all the stats, And so, but it costs money, dude. Costs lots of money. But bands just do it because rock and roll is where, for a lot of people, it's like I don't say hobby, but like a hobby dream. Yeah, it's not their primary job anymore because there's no money.
True. Very few bands. Elder is able to make a living, and they went hard. Like, how do you explain Elder and King Buffalo?
I watched it the whole time. It makes sense in some weird way. They grew from the bottom up. Elder, I saw with 15 people, Scott. 15 people.
We saw. Yeah.
They were with, they were with Most Generator and Spirit Caravan. It's the first time I met Wino. Crazy.
How long was this around the Dead Roots?
No, it was the Lore era. So it's like
15 people.
Oh, yeah, at the most. At the end of the night, I left. There's like 7 people left. I mean, I had to go to work the next day.
I saw Elder. We're getting close to 2 years ago. The lineup was so stacked. It was Elder, Ruby the Hatchet, and Dreadnought was the opener. What a show. The place was the size of my living room. There were like 120 people. It's a little bit bigger than the St. Vitus in New York, but not much.
I've never been up there.
And, oh, man, you've never... So you've got
St. Vitus not open anymore, right?
Oh, yeah, St. Vitus is still... We went
did it get closed? Like a few months back because they didn't have some liquor license.
Wow. I'm ready to look this up.
I wouldn't speak it without knowing it, probably. As much as I talk a lot, I try to keep the truth in there. Yeah, never been up there to St. Vitus. Been a while since I've been to New York, even.
Wow. How did I miss that
There's
news?
so much coming at us, dude. We can't consume all of it.
Good God, there's no shows.
Yeah. They're working on it. Like, I think Desert Fest New York is going to have to do... hopefully they have a precautionary substitute just in case.
Yeah, no kidding. Have you ever been to a Desert Fest?
I have not. Hey, and I've told the guys before, but I think it's stupid that Ripple Fest and that are like 1 week apart. What if you do like early summer, late spring or something? It's perfect because a lot of us would go to both, honestly. But I get a Ripple Fest every year. I've worked with Ryan on things for a number of years. I got a tradition with my high school buddies. We go down there. And so Ripple Fest and the heat and all that doesn't bother me one bit. I lived in the Southeast for so many years. I'm born and raised in Northern Virginia, DC. So humidity, our DNA, we're used to that shit. Now, I've gotten a little spoiled being out here 14 years with no humidity. But the key to outside in hot weather is wear less clothes. Don't wear a black t-shirt at a concert either, outside. I don't care, you know what I mean?
I'm an endangered species as soon as you mention that. I can't do the heat. I never
water,
have.
Smoke weed. No, that's right. You don't do that anymore. Drink water. It's a key to a lot of it is water. And if you're scared of...
I will take CBD.
Oh, God. Yeah. Maybe a Red Bull if you need it later on. Give you a second wind later at night.
Coffee.
Wow. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. So there's so many directions I can go in. Let me get you to commit. Hopefully this won't be the only time that we get together and talk. I want to pick your brain about the marketing side of it. Let me go ahead and jump into it. it are things it my interpretation is things are in band's favor right now, in the sense that they're going to make a little bit of money without being on an onerous contract. Bandcamp, I think, has leveled the playing field in a lot of ways. I just think bands don't know how to leverage. They don't know how to market. There's exceptions. I think Castle Rat is exceptional in how they've done their social media campaigns, the word of mouth. I think the playing field is leveled a little.
So you're talking
bit.
about leveled with, like, what field? You know what I mean? What you said leveled. So what does that mean? Like, who's supposed to be higher than another?
The playing field is level. The barrier to entry is lower right now.
So much agree. I actually agree, I think, with almost everything you're saying. I just wanted a definition of, like, you know, like, they're the underdog coming up. Well, what's the one that's leveling off, that's higher up, so that they're level?
I don't know that bands have the, not everybody has the work ethic of King Buffalo.
Oh, yeah. Right? They're all in.
King Buffalo, everything is in-house. All their production is themselves. Their recording is themselves. When you order merch, Scott, the drummer, is sending you the merch from his home address. When you go to their show, they are manning that merch thing.
I know King Buffalo well.
And the audience might not. And yet they played a Hall of Fame gig.
Someone knew someone.
They did.
Someone knew someone.
So King Buffalo is an example of a band that can do it, has done it right, like from day one.
Totally. Like them, all the witches,
another one.
King Buffalo, and Elder. I've watched it. I've called it. They've moved excellent through each level of popularity. And they worked a lot together, by the way. And a band I think is kind of inching into that group is Resin. I think they're already in the periphery and working with some of those bands. So you start seeing these bands work together also on the ascent. So Resin, R-E-Z-N.
Oh yeah, I'm going to cover them. I don't know if I'll be able to do a full review, but they're on my list. I thought the latest is Burden, right?
Yeah.
It's their best album. It's their.
I like it.
It's their. Hey, here we are. They've matured in sound. There aren't a lot of other bands, I think, that understand that you have to commit and, form a company, treat your band as a company, and there's no guarantee you're going to make it.
Yeah, it's going to take investment in money and time.
Okay, let me get your opinion on Ripple Music.
Great. One of the probably the premier, along with Heavy Psych Sounds, premier underground stoner heavy psych doom heavy rock labels.
Do you think they have do you think they can become even bigger to where, they have the scene, they have everything there. I'm wondering if they could be the next, Virgin Records, for lack of a better analog.
It really is a whole different marketing situation would have to happen just to get towards that. And exposure is, the underground can only do so much. So it's when you're trying to broaden the audience, because there's so many people that don't know this stuff. But, if you introduce someone who likes heavy rock, but they only like some kind of heavy rock, like me, and then you give them like a slow doom song, you're fucked. On the first minute they hear it, they're like, they're just gonna. You have to give. You have to give people the best fit. So Ripple would have to get their best music towards the right people that like that and see it, and put this towards that. And it takes time. I've been in marketing since '93, so maybe I'm partial to it, but it takes time, commitment, plan, and that's tough. These labels. These guys have other jobs. Todd has a massive job. He's an eye surgeon.
Yeah.
So you're not doing all that, but Todd does a lot. So it's crazy. But to be
like you said, heavy psych sounds.
And I don't even know how that guy does it. How Gabe does it. I mean, he literally sets up tours and stuff as well.
And he just signed Conan.
Yes. Conan's another big signing from them. Yeah.
That's a big catch. Blues Funeral. Bringing Abrams on. Abrams, to me, is a band that could be in one of the big three labels. I think Abrams has cross-generational, cross-music appeal. Those guys are just
We just talked
good.
about that last night on the Doomed and Stone show, which will be out soon or whatever. And Abrams did a big move when they went to Small Stone for the last album. Their production level, their certain clean sound, it really was a departure from the previous albums. Not that the previous albums were bad. This was a distinct production, and they stuck with it with this new album, and it's great. It's weird they only did one album with Small Stone, but usually Small Stone gets them per couple. But to go over to Blues Funeral, and Jad is a wild animal out there, hustling and doing so much stuff. I mean, the guy's no longer behind the scenes. He's involved with 3 labels at least in some capacity.
I'm not a marketer, although I'm learning a lot about marketing, but I do have a sense of trends, a sense of social psychology. Okay. I think the scene is there's a critical mass that the scene as a whole can hit, where it's no longer underground, where there are just so many bands, so many fans, that it creates its own thing, which is what the labels do. Similar, the legend is always Seattle. Seattle put together a scene that was so big it couldn't be ignored. Yeah. I think the same thing is going to happen with heavy psych, with stoner, with doom, because the bands that are coming out right now, Frail has tremendous crossover. The Dream Pop, Snake Mother, who I do have news on Snake Mother, but we can't talk about it.
You Snake Mother from where?
They're from LA.
Northern California, I think. Yeah.
They're from Oakland, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. They're fantastic. Fade Tooth, another band. They're on Dune Altar. It's like there are all these women writing songs that are easy to listen to, very heavy, extremely well done. There's a new band here, Angela and the Crooked Path. They just released one single. It absolutely blows my mind how good this is. They haven't even played a gig yet.
Oh, well, that's...
But I think there's enough international momentum that I don't know how underground it's going to be 10 years from now.
Hopefully not extinct. So, listen, I hear you, your exuberance and excitement for the scene. It comes off completely, and I get it. I've been there. But there's a lot of stuff out there. And so for something to grow organically, it takes a little while because there are a lot of people that, I would list 10 other bands than the ones you just list. I don't even know. Very in tune to any of those. The Mother one I have for sure. But it's just a lot out there. So there has to be at some point in time a funneling down of these things where someone gets popular at some point in time. And it's if it's without any money or any like kind of PR push or behind the scenes and all that, organic takes a while to grow. But like Zach, I don't know about this guy, but someone told me about it the other day. Zach Bryan, country music star, only been around for 3 years, and he's playing not stadiums, but arenas now or something. I'm like, what? But I don't know anything about country. But you hear that kind of stuff, and you're like, hip hop and rappers, that shit can happen. They can do a turnaround in 7 months, 8 months. Go from no one's heard of them to they just align the path. Bam! And everything just goes. Our stuff is organic. It takes a while, man. But I mean, all them witches, Elders on tour with Tool. That's cool. I mean, Tool has taken All Souls as well, and Melvins. All Souls is a really good band from our scene as well. They took them like a decade ago. And King Buffalo is, I mean, I don't know if they have a song that necessarily is going to ever cross over to mainstream, but they probably could. You know what I mean? They could probably write one that it feels a little catchier.
I think they tried with Silverfish.
Yeah, I mean, their sound's varied for sure. And I've been a fan of them since the demo. I mean, big fan of them. I saw them with Baby. 50 people in Vegas. This is like, I don't know, last time they played Vegas. Wasn't my show.
I saw them open for All Them Witches in just outside Raleigh. Place was packed. It was an amazing show, and it was
over in Carborough.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I love Cat's Cradle. I saw somebody else. I'm blanking. I just saw someone. But they didn't play. The Cat's Cradle has the two different venues. Oh. They played the smaller. Oh, it was Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum.
I don't know what that is.
Too
many bands.
Oh, dude, you're in for a treat. Look, I hear you as a marketing guy, but I can't afford to buy into it entirely because of YouTube, because of podcasts. And you want to talk growing organically. I think the only reason rock is dead is because people like Rick Beato make a living telling you the rock is dead and getting 200,000 views. Anthony Fantano and the Needle Drop makes an effing living telling you the rock is dead.
The first guy you're talking about, I mean, he's a major insider that's done shit for years, and I've listened to it. I heard him, he did an interview with Maynard. I watched that. I watched a couple things with him. I think they did a really good one about radio and the whole turnover thing that happened with the buyout and all that, with Clear Channel was able to just come in. So, I mean, commercially, it's not happening yet. That's the way it is. Commercially, if you go to pure statistics, dude, like pure statistics, like album sales and revenue and how many people go to their shows. I mean, Rival Sons to me is the best band in rock and roll for 10 years. And people just found out about them about 4 years ago. It's retarded.
Fair enough. I know statistics from the psychology point of view. And I understand the statistics. There's a certain interpretive factor to it. Plus, depends on how you get the stats. I don't know. We're talking about a bell curve and the outlier and all that
probably
stuff.
More than anything. So value system, because they're all businesses.
I appreciate the respect to Rick Beato, but I can't, because he's constantly putting down new generations. His videos, I understand.
Do you watch every one of them?
Maynard.
I don't watch. I've only seen a few.
I can't. I can't stomach it. Maynard is low hanging fruit. Rick Beato, he will absolutely interview what's his name from Metallica, and he'll bring them up, but he won't give the time of day to a new band. All his narrative is all new stuff sucks. He pulls the bullshit off of Spotify, looks at the major Spotify stuff, but it's not an accurate
No, he
portrayal.
can't do it. He's got too much other stuff going on in life too. He's got to produce that show. So listening to music and then having the right source for music is one of the biggest importance in the world. I mean, the most important things in the world. That's why we need as a country a new FM station format. And people are like, FM's dying. Dude, they're charged shit tons for air ads. So advertising it. I mean, if the advertising ads on radio go way, way down to someone like me even thinks about it, then they're in trouble probably. Because they don't have to lower the price because they can just keep selling it. And so everything is this bottom line thing because stations, record labels, management companies, whatever, they're business, not a charity. They're not in for goodwill. They're in to make that bottom line bigger because that enacts other people making money and job growth potentially as well. It's all fucked up. So there's not enough money in new rock and roll right now. Not even close. You know, you go to shows and see how few people go to a lot of the shows.
I think 10 years ago, the cliche was if you go to a show, everybody in the audience is in a band, and any women at the show, that's because their boyfriend's on stage. But I go to shows now, and I'm seeing a couple hundred people on a Tuesday night, mixed audience, female, generational. Doomsday Prophet. Well, no, Lie Heavy is a bad one. I saw Lie Heavy.
Yeah.
That was the typical 10 people in the audience thing.
Right.
That absolutely was. Ruby the Hatchet can fill a small 200 to 300.
Wow. Not here.
Well, come on. You've got U2 playing in the bubble. You can't compete against that.
We have so many people here. It's crazy. We make Raleigh look like a small town again. We have literally we swell up on weekends to millions and millions and more. I mean, we have millions during the week because we have convention business and all this, like the biggest or second biggest convention or in the country or world or whatever. And the city just has massive amount of people coming in. People are moving in at a high rate. There is a lot of things going on. And that's what's tough sometimes. It probably isn't directly about the Dead or U2. It's the Dead there right now. I went and saw that. I wish I'd been on mushrooms for that. That was crazy. Like, wow. I was getting high for it, I'll tell you that. I smoked marijuana since 87. I used to be short hair, like senior manager in the company and all that. But shit, if I went home or I was going out on a Friday night or hanging out with my buds, we were smoking bowls, bongs. Didn't matter. I can go out socially and smoke weed. I'm all right. Some people are like, oh, I get all paranoid. I'm like, I have ADHD. Give me some sativa. I'm off to the races.
What brought you in? So you have the marketing background, and I'm listening to what you say, but you seem so heavily invested in the scene. You have Planet Desert Rock Las Vegas. This isn't a small enterprise.
No, it's the fifth one next January. It's been pretty cool. I've done the last 2 years. Both been successes, smaller scale. Again, how much you pay, all your cost versus revenue, not only from the show, but from merch. I fucked up this year, and I didn't have shirts. So I was kind of concentrating on the posters and things like that. And I should have done shirts. I tried it last minute, and some guy tried to screw me on a last minute deal and like charged $300 or $400 more. I'm like, oh, like in our world, not the underground world, but here in Vegas, as someone who's involved with the rock scene, and you constantly getting fucked, or people try to, or there's so much like with big labels or actually big management companies and tour booking agents. It's brutal what you have to go through with these guys sometimes because they pop the price up so high. It's not the value of the market. And then you're like, oh, what? Are you kidding me? You're like, oh no, really? I don't even want to name the bands. It's because again, I've set up shows for 6 years. So how I got involved with what you're going to ask? Music.
How'd you get involved with this scene? I mean, how did you do it? Because I hear you. I hear the pragmatic, the almost cynical, detached analysis, but your behavior is you're every bit as excited and
passion
and naive as I am.
It is. I like to bring some of that stuff that's, the knowledge, the background, the realness, business aspect, but from a passion standpoint. I've been a rock and roll since I can remember, like as a little kid. Now I also listen to Motown, also listen to disco, Jackson 5, whatever. But I have early memories of Dirty Deeds, Whole Lot of Love, which I heard in the backseat of my mom's car. She was driving me around as a little kid. I mean, just think that one through, guys. With all the moaning and then the speakers changing on you. I mean, that was a moment of like, wow, this is so fucking cool, And then Foxy Lady, Jimi Hendrix. And that just kind of stuck with me. And I'd still listen to Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and all that shit for a while. And then boom, lunch table, freshman year. Didn't know a lot of people in my high school. Only like 60 of us came over from middle school, 70 maybe. And the table I was at was like a heavy metal table. Like not a bunch of long hair, short hair metalheads. And everyone knew about everything, bringing circus magazines, copying, tapes. And the rest is history. Now, how did I get into this? It was after leaving a pretty high stress, high paying job, getting a divorce and everything else. I started going out to clubs or lounges by myself because I like the ladies. I just got divorced. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Sit around, feel sorry for myself. So I go to these stupid lounges, and after a while, I'm like, I just feel like the creepy older guy. You know what I mean? I'm like, this fucking sucks. And I don't like drinking by myself necessarily, anything like that. So I started going to rock shows more often, and what I noticed is no one was doing anything to promote it. Bigger acts were getting a lot of people, other things, not as much. So when I went to Elder, Moss Generator, Spirit Caravan with 15 people, when I saw Freedom Hawk, it was probably a Wednesday night, but it was probably with 20-something people at the beauty bar. When I went to, but it just went on and on, stories like that. And it was just like, Jesus. No, I don't think anyone's trying. I didn't see an ad. I didn't see it posted, So if you don't do those kind of things, you're really wasting an opportunity. And you just gotta hustle, gotta know what to hustle. I can help people with this. I'm cheap as shit. And I've done it for years. And looking for a few new clients. That's it. But anyways, you have to know the certain things you have to do. And I've watched bands just blow it. I mean, you see it in Doom charts. Bands don't even think about sending us codes and the insiders of the underground and how you don't have the idea to send it. That's a business opportunity completely missed. I mean, it's a lot of emails, right, Scott? I mean, you get it big batches,
It's hard for me to explain this to people. On any given day, we can get 150 of those freaking emails. We had one. I was just sitting with Julie saying, "Hey, look at this, look at this, look at it." It was like
emails to you.
Doom scrolling.
Right? Yeah.
No, from Doom charts, from the Doom charts list that Jupe sends out, but it can easily be 200-300 a month.
I don't know if I get that many.
On
might be on a
average.
bigger list. I don't get that many, but I get a lot.
Brother,
That's crazy.
I'm a very, very small channel. We're very niche.
I like it.
We just bought Monster Riff, so we have that going for us. And I'm getting a minimum of 5 bands reaching out to me from like Czechoslovakia and Serbia, and it's a beautiful scene. And I look at this and go, we keep thinking in terms of North America and American audiences.
I don't.
This scene is massive. Well, no, you don't, but culturally, again, I will slag Rick Beato until I get his fucking attention and I can yell at him because I think he causes as much harm as he does.
Yeah, but you wonder who
good.
his audience is. It's probably just a bunch of quote unquote boomers. I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
And there's probably some Gen X's in there, but listen, it's easier for people to accept less work. What I mean by that is
fair enough.
People could just go, yep, Rick's right. There just really isn't that much good stuff. That way they don't have to put the effort to actually listen to something new or branch out the check in with your page, weekly about new bands they might like, or listen to a podcast like Rock is Dead, or, whatever the case. People have to be committed to that being an actionable thing.
Right. And that's why we have the YouTube channel. It's like, I'm not going to take them on. I'm probably going to edit everything I've said bad about Rick Beato.
Doing it because controversial. You need it.
I don't want to all of a sudden become Finn McKenty, and I'm just. Oh, I love Finn.
Way.
I love Finn.
That's crazy. Some of the shit he talked about on Stoner and Doom shit, he was off base and illiterate of it.
He is a personal friend. I've worked with him. I've talked to him. I've spoken to him. I absolutely love Finn, and I will defend that thing he did on. That thing he did on Stoner Doom pissed me off, and it still does. However, we call it Stoner
I don't call
Doom.
That.
I mean,
call it heavy rock.
You're smarter than the rest of us.
Me and Todd, I talked to Todd Severin, Tony Reed, a bunch of us, like 7 years ago. I remember talking about this kind of stuff, and I was like, I kind of got to go with that. But there's two branches of heavy rock, so it makes things difficult. But yeah, Stoner Doom are bad tags, man, to market to people.
They're bad tags. and when our big bands, are Dope Lord, Dope Smoker, Greenleaf, who, by the way, that album was hot. We just released the video today. Gypsy interviewed. She just sends an email to whatever band. It doesn't matter how big they are. Landed an interview.
I saw that. That's cool.
Just like that.
Yeah, awesome. Greenleaf's a great band, one of the best bands, I think, in heavy rock right now. I mean, that's the kind of band that should be on the radio. They have good rock songs. They're not compromising. They're just really good rock songs. We've missed out. Generations have missed out on the opportunity for a new creation of a station that has good heavy rock songs that mostly are stuff come from the underground, and you meld it in with bands like Rival Sons and oh God, you just go of this layer of hard heavy rock that's still a little more organic. Blue Stones, doesn't matter. And you put that together instead, and you cut out all the octane radio, overproduction, new metal, family tree stuff. That's a different branch of heavy rock. They dominate mathematically, statistically, label-wise, everything over Stoner rock. Period, end of sentence. They are the kings of the rock scene. And that shit sucks.
But the only reason that they dominate is because
of Finn. I'm joking.
It's not the fans. No, it's not Finn, organic.
Your boy. It's jokes to him.
No. Finn, I'll defend to the end. He has a point. I disagree with his choice of.
He likes hardcore, right?
I cannot. It was Was it God? It wasn't God. I Hate God. He's using I Hate God as the poster child of Stoner Rock Doom. I'm
it's
like,
fucking sludge.
Oh God, no.
That's metal. At that, it's just stupid. People people easily disparage us. Listen, Scott, I'll give you a controversial name here in town and known around the world. Eddie Trunk. Do I know this guy? He lived here for like a year or so now. I've talked to him. And I even had probably my longest conversation about other music with him than I have since he's been here. And he's a guy who has a loudspeaker of millions of people listening. And he got on Rival Sons after me, by the way. And I came up to him like, dude, you were the first person other than myself that I talked to that heard talking about Rival Sons. Kind of looked at me and I'm like, yeah, it's before you. But anyways, that's a long story. I'll tell you later. And we kept talking, and then we talked about like different bands he had on his TV show, That Metal Show. The last season, he had Rival Sons, he had Crowbot, and he had Scorpion Child, which Scorpion Child I had played Planet S Rock. Aaron Black is a great singer, still to this day. And Eddie's clueless. He's like, oh, I thought Scorpion Child broke up. And I go, no, they played here. We were at Counts Vamp. I'm like, they played here. It was my show. I do a weekender. And yeah, one day I'm going to be like, give me your card. I won't stalk you. And I want to talk to you about something. I mean, I'm going to try to help get our music out there. Like in that kind of weird. No, but I mean, I'm going to literally try to go to Eddie and try to say, do a segment with me for 30 minutes, right? Introduce like 3 songs.
where I can't, we don't need Eddie Trunk. Let him continue to focus on, is Kiss doing, are they doing,
we need people like him and Jose
backtracks?
Mangan, and we need positive people that just say something about us and recognize us actually as a great scene, and music's coming out of it. And here's something, because Rival Sons, in a weird way, is a cousin of us. It's blues-based rock and roll.
I totally agree. They were, Duel just released their album. That's another band that should be up there.
Oh yeah, they played one of my shows. Great guys. This newest album is the heaviest they've done. Like Jeff and Tom really, they went way more metal on that. Normally they're not. Yeah, that's the heaviest album they've done. And I love seeing Duel live, dude. Tom Frank's got the best hair in rock and roll. It's like a big fucking poof. And he's like sings and it's like kind of hops.
Yeah, we saw Duel open for Color Haze at St. Vitus for Desert. I saw Color Haze not once but twice. It was awesome. Look, we don't need Eddie Trunk. We don't need.
We're not going to blow them to get him, but it would help.
No, we need somebody from the scene, and I'm not saying it's me. I'm too old. I'm too whatever. But we can do it ourselves. We have the platform. We have the podcast. We have YouTube. We have the blogs. We can absolutely take over every single. Well, no, actually, I'm going to shoot down my own argument by saying that punk rock decimated, an entire culture in around 1977 with, one or two albums. The next thing you know, boom, everything's
I never paid
done.
one bit of attention to it. And I grew up in DC. How weird is that? Get this, Scott.
Well, you grew up in DC.
Scott, me and Dave Grohl grew up about 15 miles apart from each other. I don't know him, but in the exact era. Like he was supposed to graduate, I think, in 87. He's the same age as me. And he lived over one town over from my cousins. And so, and he was going in and doing punk shows and shit in DC, underage. We started sneaking into bars at 18. Your senior year, it used to be you could drink in DC at 18. And there was a car accident. They changed the law, but we would use fake IDs and all that. But we weren't going to like sleazy concerts. We wanted to meet girls. So, I mean, Were
those the girls you really wanted to meet, John?
Well, I mean, yeah, that night I did. Who knows? But, so now, I was just going to finish about how I got into it. So I watched all that, and I kept telling my buddy, a couple people, I'm like, I'm thinking maybe I should try to do a show, and I looked into some of the stuff, and I talked to some bigger promoters, and someone gave me a chance. My first show was House of Broken Promises, which features Arthur C. and Mike Cancino of Unita. And it was a really cool desert rock band. Arthur's such a good guy. We're friends to this day, done a bunch of stuff together. He's helped me with Planet Desert Rock before with guitars and backline stuff. Great relationship. And I just kind of learned from there. And been in a bunch of different venues. My favorite is Counts Vamped. I'm a lucky man to be able to do shows there. This place literally has Armored Saint on a Tuesday night and had like 300 something people in there, just packed the place. Jeff Tate, they have a line around the thing. They won't even let them all in. And I get to do, 2 nights there. And the quality of sound beats almost anywhere you're ever going to go. And people that are musicians tell us these things like, wow. Because they have a sound guy in the front and back and a light guy and a green room. With a waitress that comes to with a bar tap. Like we set them up with a bar tap, a limited bar tap, but sure not.
Do they get to have a rider where they get,
I'm not doing anything with riders ever. Bands still like me fine, but some of them get very, if there's one band I'm not going to say, but a European band that I've done 2 shows with, and the last time, they were rough. Like the whole venue, we were all just so bummed. The manager was just fucking brutal. I just did not know how to acted way too big for his own britches. So it ruins it sometimes like that.
Oh, like he came. Did he have a big stick like Eddie Grant or Peter Grant?
This guy was little, man. I was towering over him, and he's still talking shit to me. I'm like, fuck.
So is that venue where Planet Desert Rock is being held?
2 out of 3 of the nights. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Where's
the usual
the other one?
It's a place called the Usual Place.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Dome. That's weird. Okay. How did you get Sergeant Thunderhoof? I need to know. I think they're just the most amazing band that nobody's ever heard.
That's why I picked them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a little out there on some of my concepts of things and what I think about as far as visualization. I look at building a lineup like art, and some bands I just continue to believe in. I hear their stuff and I'm like, they should be bigger. it's just so good. And so I poke around and ask, and I talk to bands, and I've built relationships with some of them over the years. Sergeant Thunderhoof was, for a moment, all in on doing it this year that we just did. And then he remembered that he was getting married. And he's like, oh shit. So
was it Dan? He was getting married.
Yeah. Like this year, I think it was. So yeah, he was
that's right.
At one time he was like, oh shit, I would be totally down for that. And then like a day later, he's like, oh shit, I just forgot. I'm going to get married. I'm like, oh, okay, well, next year. And so next year rolled around, and I started hitting up bands early. I mean, my pre-sales are the best they've ever been. And it's because people have had such a good time the last 2 years in particular that they're like, sign us up. We're ready. We love this. Because people get to hang out during the day, Scott, and do whatever the fuck you want. You're not under pressure to get there and start catching bands. You go out and go hiking. You can go gambling. We have museums. We have a mob museum.
That's the one I need to go to. So you've got them. And then I think there's a couple that sold it for me because we bought tickets, I think, the second day that they were released. Omega Sun.
Returning to Planet Desert Rock. I liked them before. I didn't know anyone really liked them when I first started listening to them. Like, people weren't telling me about Omega Sun. And I just gravitated to them and have kept in touch with them, supported them, post their stuff all the time because I listen to their stuff all the time. And, they came out for Planet Desert Rock 2, where I had like 8 international bands that year. And they were fantastic. They even played me and Arthur C. from UNITA. We set up a pre-show for Stoned and Dusted, which was out in the it was at Yuccaville. It was like Yucca and Yucca Valley. And man, Omega Sun killed it there too. I got good video of them on that one. And I just think they're good stuff. And they finally put a new album out.
Last year.
Or was it the beginning of this year or end of last year? Yeah. I think it was last year. And it was one of my top 10 albums of the year. I mean, I just think they're really good. And they have a certain, they're not the same. See, they got a mix of some great influences, And just like Dan, I mean, is the most amazing singer. With Sergeant Thunderhoof, that one song, that whole album, this whole last album, he, sings like a bird when he wants to. I mean, it's just amazing stuff. Absolute Blue. That song will wormhole your head and never leave. Like, that should be on the radio, period.
How is that not on the radio?
Money. I hate to say it. Call me a cynic, but
yeah, I understand your
cynicism. Not cynicism, it's realism in this case. But yes, but dude, like, I feel like I should give it to radio stations. I feel like I should take the time, it just as a test, and contact all the independent radio stations. That's who you hit. But you have to have a package, like a PR EPK thing together. And
let's do it. let's throw the band. It's like the Little Rascals, right? Oh, we're out of money, and let's put on a show.
So you dig Omega Sun too. That's awesome.
Oh, and Germ.
That's a dream come true for me. I've been a fan of them. They're very dynamic, very majestic in their sound. They've morphed into different directions, but their artisticness of whatever they do is intensely good. And the singer, again, I can't wait to hear if he can do that live. Because, I mean,
the lineup is just
thank you so much.
Who else have you added recently? I'm looking at old promo because I want to push this for you. I want to push that.
You're fucking awesome, man. Scott, the last couple bands I've added Solace, which is stoner metal.
Was the one.
Yeah,
Solace.
He reached out to me, Scott, and I was like, I think I'd had him on a list at one time, but I saw they were just not very active much, and I was like, eh. So when they reached out to me, I was like, huh. And then I listened to music for like a day, for like 2 hours. I'm like, oh yeah, because I love their last album. Like, it's fucking the shit. I just cranked it in the car, fucking, start weaving in and out of traffic. I don't care at that point. I loved it. And so, when I looked over all that, I thought about it, and I was like, man, they've been around since like 99, 2000. I'm like, you know what? These guys are too good. Let's do this. Then I add some flavor. And so, it's like stoner metal, which, if you look at Germ, they're heavy psych. I mean, they're in no way doom or metal. They're like psychedelic rock, a heavier version, and then Omega Sun is, it's like stoner doom with grunge, quite frankly. People compare his voice at times to Garcia and at other times to Chris Cornell, which is what I heard originally. And the other bands that are coming in, the other one was Godzillionaire. Added them, and most people won't know who they are. But do you remember the band in the 90s called Paw? P-A-W. Yeah. The singer is Mark Hennessy, and he started a band called Godzillionaire out of Lawrence, Kansas. And their last album, Negative Balance, it was called, was like, dude, this isn't stoner rock again. But this is like stoner rock at like this not as heavy level and kind of artistic with some stuff going on. And, and Mark Hennessey's a great story. He's had some major health problems and some things like that. So it's really, I just feel like it's right. I'm going to start a night off with him even. Yeah. And I've heard the new album. I even referred them to a label, we'll say. And the new album's great. And so
that's always fun, isn't it? When you can play matchmaker with the label.
I got credit for a number of them. So three different of that split series they recently did. 3 of them in a row. It's crazy.
Dude, I could talk to you forever and ever and ever, but I do have to go. So Stoner Rock, so Planet Desert Rock is
January 30th, 31st, February 1st, and soon to be announced, a Sunday show that will be called Last Call. That'll be a separate ticket. And that'll be the next day.
Can you give us a hint who's playing Last Call? Is it big?
Dude, it's going to be hard to get a...
That's it. I knew it. Caius is reforming. Yeah. Josh Homme's decided to play.
Josh Homme does.
That's a joke, folks.
Does Caius for one night only. Just him and a bunch of people. Not even one for the band. That would be, I know someone who knows Josh now. So, but you really got to give people incentive for why they would want to help you. And so that's the tough part. But yeah, Josh, how cool would that be? So yeah, next year, tickets are on sale. We have posters. They're going to be super cool. And shirts this year for sure. And listen, it's a good time. You just go, you have a good time during the day, morning, sleep in, whatever the fuck. The shows don't start usually at 6:30 at the earliest. And the setting of both these places are cool. Vamped as seating, you can buy a table and all that stuff. Or I don't think it's that much. There's the minimum spend. And you got a table. Yeah. On the floor. Yeah. It's you'll be a rock and roll experience you've never had, Scott. And I'm sure you've done a lot. But Vamped in particular, yeah, it's a different feel. You look around and the place is like immaculately designed. And the guy who owns it's famous. His name's Danny Coker from the TV show Counting Cars.
No,
10 seasons. Yeah.
Huh? I have no idea.
Counting Cars. It was a show for 10 years on the History Channel.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I remember it. So, dude, we got to do this at least one more time before Plaza.
You just let me know.
You let me know if you go, Scott. I really have been thinking about what we were arguing about, and I want to do this again.
Sharing information. I look at.
It is. I think we need to get passionate. I completely disagree that we need people, that we need any of the existing gatekeepers. Fuck them. Heavy rock has been screwed over since 1975, right? Yeah. Rainbow released Rainbow Rising.
Even Black Sabbath wasn't getting their due when it came out.
They never... Everybody thinks Sabbath, like the 1970s, were this big Sabbath fest. No, they weren't. They didn't really catch on until, I'd say, 1996,
it's just,
when they started doing their last tours.
What happened was it's gotten to next level because of how they got licensing stuff going on. So Iron Man and Paranoid are like in commercials. They're at football games. When that shit starts happening, they're like, whoa. I mean, War Pigs is on multiple TV shows and commercials. And what's funny is this is a prime example of one of the best band that's ever created. And most people have no idea what they do because they're scared of the name. And I'm dead serious. People are like, oh, Black Sabbath. It sounds so ominous to them. And when I play it for them, it's fucking heavy rock and blues based stuff with jazzy elements. When Ward's doing his the cool ass drums and bass by itself, it's jazz blues at a peak, and the British were amazing at it.
You mean it's real heavy metal? That is real heavy metal. That Judas Priest stuff and the Iron Man, that's not heavy metal.
I like that too. I don't like early Priest, but that's just me. Every beat in there.
Oh, I love
some
early
people
Priest.
You'll find that I'm not always exactly in line with what maybe the norm is. And that early Priest is definitely not me.
You and me both, brother. Yeah. Although Sad Wings of Destiny is pretty badass.
That's that epic song.
It's pretty
I just
badass.
don't like rock and roll. I just want into that.
Okay, let's do this again.
Cool. Great talking to you, Scott.
I love you, man. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much.
I get to ramble with you. Tell you how smart I am or not. You make the choice, and then talk about Planet Desert Rock. And I'll do it anytime you want, Scott. We do different fun stuff instead, with like bands. So you let me know. All right.
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas.